come to the end of our Legacy series. Thank y'all for tuning in every week. Episode 4, the finale. All of this is leading up to Homecoming Weekend 2023. We so excited. We got so much planned for everybody that's coming in. We want to see all of our family, our friends, current, former members, everybody. Y'all meet us here tomorrow night at 7 at the Youth Center. We're having showtime at the Cathedral Center show. You don't want to miss it. It's going to be so lit. It's so live. Tell everybody you know about it. Right now, go ahead and share the video. Share it. Circulate it. We want to go viral. We want to let the world know what we're doing and how we're doing it up here at EFVM. So, we heard from our social. We heard from so many amazing people who've been here throughout the years, see our history, where we are now, where we're going. And now, say the best for last, at least in my eyes, the best for last. And I'm not just saying it because they're my parents. They actually are incredible leaders. Our senior pastor and first lady, Apostle Felix, and Lady Andrea Revills. Y'all, show some love in the comments, type, hey, I'm hand claps, and you know how y'all do it. Do all that in the comment sections. But thank y'all for being here today.
Glad to be here.
Yes, thank you for having us.
Not amazing conversation, but something close. And that is in a while.
Yeah.
But it's been 17 years since what we're doing right now.
Long time.
So basically what I've been asking everybody, the first question is, what is your first memory of EFV? Like, first got here all his life.
All his life, yeah. But
still, like your first memory of what is?
Well, I guess my first memory would start as a kid. And honestly, it was nothing like all of the pomp and circumstance and everything that I've seen as it has, by the grace of God, matured and developed. But as a kid, you know, I was so involved in the day-to-day routine of seeing my dad, my mom actively involved in really helping people. That's my first memory of the church, is just, you know, constantly, you know, doing things to either help feed people, you know, help lead people to Christ, or, you know, even, you know, doing things to help financially, you know, get people to a position to where they're able to, you know, have a place to stay, or just, you know, it's so much that people don't realize that pastors have to do, especially being my dad. You know, we grew up with people staying at our house all the time. I mean, I was telling my wife that we grew up literally having our house as a revolving door, because all of the members really came to our house for different, you know, outings, you know, being counseled, you know, on domestic situations. You know, my father was literally known as Daddy by so many of the young people, because he played a father figure, or he was a daddy figure to so many of the members who were single parent, you know, young people that was raising their children that didn't have, you know, that father figure in their life. So those are the things, and of course, you know, the spiritual aspect, I don't want to leave that out, but I guess as a young kid, I didn't understand the spiritual. I only saw what I considered to be my dad, my mom, you know, just doing stuff for people, helping people, serving. That was the main memory and the impact that was on my life, is actually seeing their compassion, their concern and love for people.
Well, of course, that was not mine, because he's of course speaking from a closer relationship, and he had a closer seat. But again, my first memory, honestly, and I can still see it today shine. We came in this church, in the cathedral. They were having a conference. We didn't call it conference back then. What was it called? Assembly. We were having an assembly. And we came in, it was my mother, of course, and my sister, Neitha, and myself, because at that time Mama hadn't had the twins. And we came in through those doors. Many of you that are familiar with the cathedral know the main entrance off of Cathedral Lane. And we came in, I could hear just a lot of music. I mean, it sounded like they were having a good time. And I remember coming in the church, and I mean, it was thumping and jumping. I was like, whoa, whoa. And then I came in, and my mama said she looked around and said I hadn't made it all the way from the back of the church up near the front where all the other young people were. Because you got to know, when you came in this place, you know, it's like the fire was always falling. And I felt that as a 10-year-old and didn't realize that's what it was. But that immediately captivated me. And from that moment on, I have to say, I believe I was hooked.
So it was the atmosphere, the music, the whole vibe would kind of lock you in.
It did. You know, and I mean, you know, and of course I've said oftentimes I came in and then, you know, the young people were active doing things, and I saw this young fella up there in his white shirt and pants. And he was singing, I'll Be a Witness. Oh my goodness. And I'm telling you, when I saw him, I believe it was the spirit, but I do believe that there was another connection made to that.
Say it, say it.
When I saw this young man right here,
Yes.
you know, and of course, he was a rock star.
Wow.
But honestly, you know, those are some of the things that I can remember. And then too, I have to say, just seeing our founders, you know, Apostle and Mother Revills, you know, in the pulpit, it just looked, I had never witnessed anything like that. Because you got to know, I went to church a little bit with my grandmother, which was at an old Baptist church, and it was nothing like a Pentecostal deliverance ministry, you know, and to see, you know, black people in you know, we say on the mountain because the pulpit is so high, but just to see that many people, you know, professing their love for God and Christ and doing it freely. At the Baptist church that I used to attend with my grandmother, was very stoic, you know, just very, you know, reserved, and you minded your manners, so to speak. So, yeah, that was my first experience.
Okay, so we got kind of that foundational part. So let's move into when exactly, or y'all know how it went down when you knew, okay, you next in line to take over and head up this.
Oh, wow.
This whole situation. Like, what was that like?
Well, yes, I can remember that was something that, yeah, I was unprepared for, because I did not ever feel or see myself as being next in line in ministry for anything, because, of course, I'm the youngest. Mama called affectionately me the baby boy, because, you know, I got 4 other siblings ahead of me, and every one of them had already accepted their call in ministry before and this had happened, when I was young, and I just did not ever fathom that I would, be chosen, because I had prepared myself to go on, get an education, went to the military, served my country. So I was positioning myself to be able to be successful in life outside of the ministry. Not that I wouldn't be a part of the church, but not in any major ministerial role as far as heading up, nothing, and along with the fact that I was always more comfortable in the background. I was never the one that was seeking the limelight. I never looked for something to be out front, shine. None of that was my aspiration. But the Lord has spoke to me shortly after I had accepted my call in ministry to start walking more closely with my father. And during that time, the thing is that I talked to him and my mom about taking them out every Friday for lunch. And so this had been going on, for some years, and during that time, my dad had been battling with some health issues and things of that nature. And but at any rate, on this particular occasion, we were out at a luncheon with me and my dad and my sister, Sabrina, because she was the one that I thought should have been, because she had started in ministry ever since she was, 12, 13 years old. And she was the one that actually, when I first started in ministry, she started kind of mentoring me and giving me some pointers and what and whatnot, And so when we was there at the luncheon with my dad, and I think it was my mom too, and so he told me, he said, the Lord told me it was you. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what? And I'm, trying to make sure I'm understanding. He's like, yeah. He said, you gonna be the one that I pass the ministry on, or that's gonna succeed me in ministry. And so I was, floored, really, and Sabrina was just like, yeah, I think that's good, and it wasn't, any kind of dissension or any kind of questioning about anything, because for one, we respected my father enough to know that if he said God told him, then that's what we were going to do. And so after that, then of course, that's when, my mom started going through the process of, getting things prepared for my ordination and, all of the other, I guess, preliminary things for me as successor start to fall in line as, a preparation for me taking on this particular role. And so, yeah, that was the time. Again, something that I never looked for, I wasn't politicking or campaigning for it. It was just something that was a matter of fact thing that when he said it, you know, it was a surprise to me, as I think it was probably all of us that was out to lunch with him and the family at that time. And then, you know, I guess as we say, the rest is history.
What your reaction
Well,
when you first heard the news?
and my first recollection, and I can't remember whether it was before or it was after the luncheon situation, but he and I had just gotten back from Hawaii. He and I had just gotten back from Hawaii. I believe it was in 2004, maybe 2004. And at that time I think it was Overseer Anderson picked us up from the airport. And that's when they told us that Daddy had announced to the church that he was going to be his successor.
So this was after the lunch.
And that's what I
It had to be, because he didn't do nothing like that.
Okay.
right.
Daddy was always a stickler for order.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, it had to be. I can't remember that exact time when she was saying that Cat did that.
Yeah, because for me, that's the first time that I remember knowing that, and you know, the luncheon. I don't remember whether I was there. I don't remember right now. You know, that's been a while.
Yeah.
But I do remember that particular place, particular time, because it sticks out to me, because it was like, what? Because you have to understand, just like, you know, Apostle said, because of our love and respect for our founders, it's like those shoes are big shoes, and you just understood that, you know, these are God's people. And for somebody to come and tell you that at the age that we were at the time, I guess we would have been in our 30s, maybe. Late, about your age, you know. Yeah. And for somebody to tell you that, and it's like you can't really imagine what all that is encompassed with that, because you many people that know us have heard him reference the fact that I often say, I didn't marry you. I didn't marry the preacher. You know, I didn't. And honestly, that never even crossed my mind, that we would be, or he would be, you know, the senior pastor of this important. It never is. Yes, and how fast, you know, because he and I, we've always worked together as a team, and we were driven to do whatever we had to do, you know, going to school, getting our degrees, getting jobs, you know, doing what we could to raise our family. And that was our focus. And to be surprised with that, it was just, I mean, I didn't know. I can't tell you. I was like, yay! I can't tell you that.
Yeah,
that's just fact. I did.
This is nothing I was.
It's nothing. I mean, it's like you've had your tubes tied, and then somebody come and say you're pregnant.
What an analogy.
What?
You know, I'm just, yeah. That's like, how do I?
How?
That's how it was for me.
Well, for me, I don't know. And it's a good thing. I don't know about our lives changing as kids. I feel like y'all did a good job keeping a balance. So like I normally not. I feel like I would have remembered because I'm the oldest. So I don't remember our lives as kids change. I don't remember. But I remember the ordination. I don't remember my life changing. Like my home life was still the same. My parents were very present.
Yeah.
I mean, vacations,
Dinner at the
dinner every day,
Cooking,
sports
cleaning.
events. Like y'all was still very present. I couldn't tell that it was a difference in home. You the man now, like nah, you just. I mean, you knew it when you came to church, but it wasn't like a jarring. lifestyle change for us. So I think that was very, very good, and it probably came from, especially our dad talked so much about how he came up, and it just was, he always was intentional about being present.
Look, and a lot of that, you're right, because even his mother, your grandmother, that's one of the things that she talked to me about specifically. She was like, always keep your home life your home life. And then I listened to my husband, the apostle, talk about how he always wanted to be present, like you said, he coached your basketball team. He coached, Jai T-ball, Brandon T-ball, soccer. But whatever it was, I mean, the any given day, you see this man sitting up at the football field or at the soccer field, in the gym for basketball, because you're right. He was intentional about being present. And I know a lot of that had to have come because of how he was raised. And you have to be intentional about it. And I have to say he was.
Absolutely. I mean,
Was that a conscious decision, though, for y'all to make sure that our kids' life is not going to be affected?
Absolutely. For me, that was a priority.
All right.
Right, because, being a product of an environment of seeing how, passionate, driven my father was about ministry, and that was what he did. That was who he was. But at the same time, as a, son, I felt, a longing to have a relationship beyond the church with my dad. And I didn't never really get that until I was a man. He was an excellent provider, always took care of everything that we needed. He taught us the scripture, the word of God, but like I said, the one-on-one interaction, we just had to understand that we shared him with the church, the masses of the church, these, souls. That was his drive, souls. We got to get these souls. We got to reach the lost, which was awesome because that's what God had him for. He was the father. He was the father of this great, ministry and corporation. But as a son, as I grew up and became a man, yes, it did put a stigma in me that I'm going to give my children my priority, not taking away the priority that I give my God, but I feel like I learned how to do it better, knowing that I give God first, my family and my children second, and then the church, And I feel like I learned that from him because we came clearly second after the church, or third, should I say, because God was always first, and I think that should always be in any man, woman, or whoever, boy, girl. God should always be first in your life as a priority. But then so many times preachers and pastors have an issue with trying to juggle that to make sure that the family stays in its proper perspective as second, and then the church, because the church belongs to God. We're just here as servants. We're here to serve God in a capacity because just like my father, out of all the work that he did, and God knows it's great, but he transitioned. He had to go on. The church is still here.
Still here.
Some of them same people that he had to pray for and all he had to do and help, they still here, but he's gone on. And so that's the reason why I took the time and the care that what you saw as my daughter, that I was so intentional, just like you said, that I was not going to put my children in a subservient role to the church. No, I wanted to make sure that I was there for all of the stuff that I saw my daddy not being there for. The ball games, the practices, you know, award services.
Yeah.
And you know, I will say, here my mother was definitely at the PTA meetings and things. Sometimes that I didn't even want them to be there. They gonna check on the school stuff. But other than that, I think I saw, you know, I was an athlete. And I think my dad maybe came to one or two of my, you know, basketball games the whole time that I played, you know. But he was a great dad. That's not to take anything from him, but I just understood that, you know, that was not his focus.
Right.
You know, being there, he wanted to raise me, taught me how to work. You know, he was constantly teaching me, be a man, you gotta be strong, you gotta be tough, you gotta get up, you gotta work, you gotta, you know, provide for your family, take care, and be able to earn a living. So all those were things that he preached and he instilled into me from a young boy coming up. But I'm saying the relationship. Because I grew up with such a fear of my dad, because that's what I knew him as. If you ain't do what dad say do, you gonna put that bet on, you know. And that was the relationship that we had up until I got wrong, you know. And I'm so blessed that I could, you know, take something from the good and the bad, you know, that I could use. And I know even at the best that I do, you all as my children probably feel like y'all probably can do it better than I did, you know, and so be it. I mean, I hope that you can. I hope that whatever impact that I made on you all, that you know, take that and, you know, use it in whatever way you can to be better. And I think that's what any parent would want.
Right. All right, shit. So we got the ordination in October 05. He transitioned July 2006. We don't even get a year. And then we just found out, okay, all this happening, but not even a year before the ordination. So it's like, it's fast. It's fast. What was that like? We just got ordained October. He declined. It's over. July 06. When this, okay, now, it's real.
Well, yeah, and, you know, just to kind of think back, I have to put it in perspective, because it was happening so fast. I didn't have a chance to really, you know, I guess get nervous or any of that. I just was doing it. I was in there, yeah. And then I think that was probably a good thing, because it put me in position to, you know, one thing I remember, one of the last things before my dad got really, really down sick, is he told me, he said, son, you're gonna have to learn to, in just 2 words, he said, you're gonna have to learn to trust God. He said, you gotta trust God. And that was in a situation that he was talking to me about some other things, but then specifically when I start getting in the position that where I saw him declining kind of rapidly, and being too, for me, really when it hit home is when the church administrators and the lawyers came in, and this was maybe a week after the funeral, and they brought in volumes of bylaws, insurance paperwork, key man documents, and like boom, it's like they dropped all this stuff on the desk in front of me and said, okay, you the man.
You the man.
Need you to sign.
Wow.
And that was like, I guess, I don't know, the biggest, it just made everything real. It's a reality check, and it was the biggest thing, more than the fear that I had of getting up before the church preaching. No, this the business. This is saying every bank account, everything that you have that you thought that you may have somebody else, ain't no going to mama, nobody's sister, you the man. And so, yeah, that really was a big, and that's when I guess I felt the full weight of the incorporation. Hadn't even really had a chance to breathe. I had to, pull my bootstraps up and step into that. And that's why I told so many people, I said, oh man, them some big shoes. I said, I ain't never put my foot in his shoes. No, because I know my foot wouldn't have fitted in his shoes. So I just tried to carry on from the point that I, could carry it. And then I gave God the glory, and I still give God the glory for maintaining this ministry and me, because God knows I've had some major challenges and some major, tests. I used to listen to the old saints when they used to say he brought us through many dangers, toils, and snares. And I used to thought that was just some kind of, statement, but really, many dangers, toils, and snares is my testimony that I can say, hey, that I've seen God's hand not just over me, but over this ministry. I mean, so many challenges that look bleak, but God, he kept us, he is keeping us, and he's carrying us through.
So what was your ministry really teach? What was that time like? October 05, July 06. Well, you still kind of had a little buffer right there for a minute, but it's still, okay, he dealing with reality. How does that affect you?
Yes, I have to say it certainly. Honestly, Sean, it's kind of like it, but again, because of the type of man that I'm married to, he handles stuff. He too is my love. He's my protector. And for me, I can't really say I saw a whole lot of life change, because I still had my secular job. Still was doing what I did as it relates to the children. And Shepherd Mom was still here. So even though, yes, I may have been the wife, but honestly, I was that. Shepherd Mother was here, and whatever, need to be done, she still was here. She was in place. And I know that I'm thankful to God for that. Because a lot of the stuff that I'm sure and emotions and things that he was dealing with and feeling, because he's always tried to protect me, a lot of that he didn't even show me. Yes, I tried to be that consoler as much as I could, but I know there was probably a lot of stuff he was holding back from me knowing. And I know with her being present, she was able to be that sounding board and that comfort for him, that support and correct. So I can't really say from that point in time that it was a major thing, other than the fact that it's like, because like you said, our life really, it didn't change, because we always served in the church, and we raised our children. you know, to serve. So, really wasn't big for me.
So we got this little blast from the past. This is the first appreciation celebration with the year. It was September the 6th through the 10th. So this is 2 months. Not even full 2 months, but this is 6.
Right.
2 out of 14. So yeah, this not even 2 months later, we got first celebration and appreciation. And it's a letter in here that I wanted to read. It's kind of hard. Y'all get to see it, but from Shepherd Mother to you all, the first year.
Make me cry.
Oh, goodness. Let's hope it don't make me cry. We're ready for that. Okay. Oh, man. It's break time.
Oh, Lord, I don't have
This a lot.
Gee.
Okay. To my son, to my baby boy, to my pastor, and now my bishop. Time has brought us full circle now. And know you're caring for me as I cared for you when you were truly my baby. I thank God for your strength, your determination, and your courage. Every time I see you, I see your father, the love of my life. I want you to know that Mama has your back. To Andrea, I could not have asked for a better wife for my son. You're the kind of woman every mother dreams her son will end up with. Yours truly, oh my goodness, it's a lot. Yours truly, Mother Yumi Esper.
Yes. Love her.
That's a lot. But so that was like she was proud of you.
Oh, yeah.
And so to have that support right there kind of eased the transition. And still we had 2 years with her and kind of, you know, processing, I guess, establish some sense of a new normal and going forward with it. So what was your grooming situation? Because I'm sure you and her had, because I mean, it's a lot. She realized now, okay, this is the next woman of what I built.
You know, I believe because, again, I had served prior to even he and I married. You know, I served as a pastoral assistant or as a nurse. So in doing that, you'd be surprised at how much you learn from people just being in their company, in their presence, you know? I was thinking about when you did the 30 Days of Perfection with your dad.
Right.
You know, and how you talked about how even in the office, you know, you just be sitting in there saying, I'm not doing nothing, but you'd be surprised at the stuff you were learning just being present. And that's how I feel even with Shepherd Mother, because I had a remarkable relationship with Shepherd Mother. I loved her just as she was my mother, as much as like God had given me another mother. I can't remember, I was talking to somebody, but I was telling them, I said, my mama, Mother Carter, whom I love dearly, she brought me as far as she could take. And then it's like, when we got to the church and I started getting older and started being around Shepherd Mother, it's almost like God, you know, had my mama to put my hand in my mother-in-law's hand. And didn't know again at the time, even with me serving, you know, didn't even know at that time that, you know, I would be in the position of her position whenever she vacated, that I would be, you know, that person. You know, you just do what you do, and she and I, we had a lot of similarities. But I think because she was such a strong force and she loved God's people, it helped me, you know, even like I say, watching her and the conversation she would have, you know, with me. I mean, I'm talking about Shepherd Mother. I remember I was 13 years old. And we used to do the Miss Purity. You remember we used to do Miss Purity contest? And we used to have to wear certain colors. And she bought material for me and had me a dress made. It was pink and a green sash and trim in white. It was beautiful, you know. Yeah. See, look, that was like colors. No. And she would take little time with me. And then another time she bought me some African material. She's like, Shell, I want you to come out to the house and I'm going to teach you how to sew. You know, but she would spend little time. And that was as a teenager. And several of those was prior to me even dating her son. That's just the time and attention that she sold it to me. And even as I got older and started working in the office and working as menstrual assistant, like I said, just being in her presence, you know, I learned a lot of stuff from her. And when I had questions, you know, she always had, of course, an open door policy. So I just learned a lot just from being around her. So I can't really tell you there's a first ladies class. And I was looking for that. I mean, I was on a mission. Me and one of my friends, I'll tell you, well, I won't call her name, but we were on a mission looking because in my mind, I didn't know what to do. You know, I just did what I thought I knew to do. But, you know, I was like, surely there's a manual, something where I can read and study and know what to do. But then I had to go back to the same two words that Daddy, our founder, spoke when he was talking to your dad, and he said, trust God. And that's what I had to do. You know, I remember her putting that hat on me when she took it off. That was at the ordination. She took it off. I started backing up, Shine. I was going in the opposite direction because I was like, no. You know, but that was just so funny. I did that. But again, you have to understand my love and respect. It's like, this ain't what I want. I'm not I can't be you. You know, when I came back to church and they started calling me, hey, First Lady, I'm ashamed to tell y'all. I ain't ashamed now, but then I didn't know. I said, why they calling me First Lady? What does that mean? Honestly, because I didn't know, you know. And so, again, when you do what you do because you love God, you love God's people, you just try and treat people with the same courtesy and respect that you want, and trust God that you're doing it to the best of your ability.
Yep. So here we are, 17 years later. Got an author, both on your way out. We got new visions. We got so much that's been done, and then just being able to maintain.
Yeah.
And not even just maintain, but press. Because you couldn't have been just anybody. Because a lot of people, look at somebody been doing something for over 50 years, and then changing of the guard, and they sustain it at the level, even but to take it to a whole nother level, to do it, you know, the way God leads them to do it. It's remarkable. Man, that's just that's great. But the current state of our youth, Where do we stand now?
Well, wow. I think we are at a just awesome time in EFVM. This is a great time to be a part of a great ministry. We have weathered several storms, and we are poised and positioned to launch and go forward into the next dimension. We have several great plans and programs, new church prospects, getting ready to launch out and do new building, new acquisitions, and then also the success we've had with partnering in with other organizations in our communities to be able to be a bigger help and have a bigger impact in the local community. All those are things that I'm proud of. A wife being the head of our nonprofit, now something that God used me to found, but she has literally taken our Community Development Corporation to a whole new level since she left her secular job and came on board to help me. I mean, I'm just amazed at how she has grown New Visions to be a conduit to be able to help so much and so many people in the, not just local community, but in the region of Southwest Georgia, because we know that our region is an empowerment zone, being that we have high poverty rate. And again, my wife jumped being 10 toes down, and I mean, through her efforts of leading New Vision, you know, we've raised over $250,000 in grant money, you know, and that's just in a very short period of time, you know, less than 10 years, you know, that she's been leading it. So those are the things that have me excited, and I try to keep things on the forefront, even with you, my daughter, being over our social media and working in our media ministry to promote what God is doing. We've gone through a pandemic, you know, several churches folded.
That's right.
And God is faithful. God has blessed us to weather that storm and, you know, still be able to thrive, and, you know, souls are still being saved. People are still coming to Christ. And this is just a hard time, I feel, for EFVM. I encourage, you know, anybody that's listening on, come on out and be a part. See and hear what God is doing. The fire, as she said, that has fell is still falling. Yeah. You know, the power of God, miracles, signs, and wonders. We had our first resurrection revival. This year the Lord had me to do that right after Resurrection Sunday. And I mean, so many things God did that, you know, reestablished his covenant and his presence here in Evangelical Faith Vision Ministries. So I'm just excited. I'm glad about it. This is the church that you should be looking forward to joining and being a part of, and help us reach that next level. Be a part of the new dispensation of what God is doing, and I guarantee you'll love it.
And I want to also add too, because one of the major things that I'll say with our current senior pastor, when he introduced our ministry, our congregants to grace. And I have to plug that because that is really a part of the next chapter. That's the revolution of EFVM. When you talk about progression, because for so long you think about it, honey, you know, oh my God. When you have constantly lived your life striving, Lord, let me do enough. Lord, don't let me die and go to hell. Lord, am I doing this right? Did I do this, do that? You know, and then when he brought that to our ministry and he taught us on the importance of grace and understanding grace, that in itself, Sean, was liberty to so many people. I'm telling you. So when he allowed God to use him and introduce grace, that delivered so many of us. I'm telling you, it did.
Right.
And that in itself, that's why I say that's the next chapter. Because, you know, our founders, they did a superb job of getting us locked on, knowing Christ. But when you get to a point and you are doing all that you know to do, and you still feel like, I just ain't quite got it. And then he came in and he said, but wait a minute, grace. I'm trying to tell you that did, and then the next part of even grace, when he got us locked on with grace, he started preaching and teaching about that faith. Yes. Now we knew about faith, but this man literally taught us that faith is a matter, it's proven. And to sweeten it even more, when he talked about the gorilla faith. Woo, you talking about miracles, signs, and wonders? We were at a function last weekend, and the guy was talking about, he said, when apostles started teaching on gorilla faith, he said, we had shirts made, because, you know, we believe in t-shirts. Look at your shirt. I'm saying we represent. Right, this is the vintage.
Throwback.
Yeah. But the man said, he said, I wore my t-shirt up on every time my wife washed it, it was my undershirt. Wow. He said, and I kept wearing it. He's because I was I knew God was going to do something for us, but that gorilla faith, just to have it, it was reminding me that just like this, look, just like this t-shirt is real, this faith thing is real. And if I can hold it, grasp it, and believe it, it's got to happen. And I'm telling you, when he started telling his testimony, it just revolutionized, you know, my mind. It recharged me. Yes, the music is great. The singing is wonderful. But when this man started teaching about grace and faith on another level, that in itself is worth a visit to the cathedral.
I tell you, because we're going to show the saints how to live. They can't take a vacation where your skin is. We're going to show you how to live. No, saints, you don't have to go to the beach with a skirt on.
Amen.
And a blouse.
That's right.
Shoot.
Ooh.
So that's what we're doing.
Yes. We can still be saved, love God, and it has
And live life.
And live life. That's right. That's it.
And
that's us.
The older saints are talking to them. They know that we could do these things. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to one lady in particular. She was like, this woman said, I feel stupid, but the thing is like, I feel like I missed so much in my life because I didn't know we had this freedom in Christ. It's like you trying to earn your way into the love of God, and you can't do it. That's
can't do it.
Thing about grace.
Yes.
And then the faith part on top of that, like faith liberated. And then it was also people who they didn't want to accept because it's like, no, that's blasphemous. How dare you tell us that we can live life and God still be pleased and we ain't gonna bust hell wide open. That ain't right. You ain't right. But you know, it is what it is.
Yes.
And you see it, you read it, it's like, oh. And some people I think may have been like the lady outside. I refuse to believe that because mean, so I've been living like this for 30 years and I could have been enjoying my life. It's can't be. This cannot be for real.
Yeah.
But, we in grace and faith and truth
And as long as you still breathing, it's not too late.
it's not.
You can live your best life. Now you can live it and know that I'm still gonna meet Jesus in peace. And he can say to me, well done. That's right.
Well done.
That's right.
It's so good. And that's, I was gonna get to that. Grace. I'm glad you brought it up. But I think that about covers because I was gonna ask about the future, vision for the future, but what else can we say? I mean, it is what it is. We're at the end of our series, the legacy series. I mean, it's been a strong 4 weeks, a month. Y'all roll with us all the way up. We all gonna say that 1 day away from 2023 homecoming. It's not a conference. It's not an assembly. It's an experience. So be here for the experience. We got a talent show tomorrow night. We got tailgating going on Saturday. We got our homecoming pep rally. That's really gonna be good. We got a lot of stuff this Sunday. It's not your typical Sunday morning.
Not at all.
So tell a friend and tell a friend. Share these videos, man. Y'all in comments reminiscing about the past, present, and where we're going. Also, we're right here on the south side, 1506 Southside. We've been here for the past 50-something years. We haven't been here the whole 64 years, but at least 50 years. We've been right here on the corner. We don't plan on going anywhere anytime soon. So, thank y'all for joining us.
Thank you.
Giving us y'all time from y'all busy schedule. But we're looking to see everybody here this weekend. It's homecoming. We are one. That's the thing.
We are
One. All right, that's it. Next series.
It's a wrap.
It's a wrap.